ורחמים, חסד ושלום. Welcome everybody to Wednesday night at the movies. No, it's the annual. Okay, maybe the last one was 2 years ago. State of the Minyan address. And in which there will be some surprises. And to fill many of you in with where we are and hopefully where we're going, and including where we've been. So without further ado, I'm going to thank Deborah Lesk for inviting our holy friend, the tape recorder, in with us. And start us off with, yes, you guessed it, the MOSh theme song. I've been to Romemu, I've been to BJ, I've searched all over for a place to pray. I found the mosh pit and knew that this was it. I am a moshnik and I'm here to stay. And I'm turning gray. I found community that is in tune with me, singing and dancing in our Zoom agog, especially Amy. Sun contemplation mixed with elation. I am a moshnik and I'm here to stay. And I'm turning gray. A chance to meet you, a place to greet you, a time to deepen what it means to belong. Let's have some fun tonight and spread some joy and light. I am a moshnik and I'm here to stay. And I'm turning gray. All right, this is for you, Hop. I'm a moshnik and I'm here to stay. And we're turning gray. All right, sweet. I would like to begin by giving you an overview of where we've been the last 10 years. Some of you have been on this journey from the beginning. Me'er Gale the longest. We've known each other since the early 1990s, or maybe the late 80s, sometime around there, when I was a visiting rabbi. Well, I wasn't yet a rabbi, but I was doing rabbinic work at Olam Tikva, her synagogue in Fairfax, Virginia. And lo, these many years later, she is following me around. And that is a blessing for me. Mira, I think that you might have been there at one of the very first gatherings of MOSh 10 years ago. Minyan Oneg Shabbat, first of all, the name. Does anybody know why it's called Minyan Oneg Shabbat? I have shared this once or twice, but you might not know or remember. I used to go to a wonderful chavurah that I would still be going to if I wasn't busy on Shabbos mornings, called Farbrengen. Farbrengen is the oldest chavurah in the entire country. As a matter of fact, Rabbi Art Waskow is one of the founding members of Farbrengen, along with Rabbi Max Titkin. Many of you knew Max, of blessed memory. And so 10 years ago, actually a little more than that. As I was approaching Smicha, I invited a number of people to my house, to our house, Renee's and mine, here in DC. I was hoping to have a little shtibla, a little place to daven, but in a renewal vein. And it turned out my friends were not into renewal, especially those people who were within walking distance of my house. And so that didn't last that long because it was clear that they didn't have the same yearning as I did as far as spiritual expression. But some other people came to my house, and I don't remember, were any of you at my house at that time? It might have been earlier, but then I just put out an email saying that we're going to meet at the church. At the Chevy Chase Presbyterian Church, I searched for a place. We found a wonderful, wonderful location within walking distance of my house. And Scott was, well, how many of you were there towards the beginning, not necessarily at the beginning, or how many of you were there at the church at any time? Haf and Neil and Helene, Susan, Amy, Mary Rita, Elka, Dan, Carol Ann, a good many of you, and Roxanne. Fabulous. Did I miss anybody? Kit and Renee, of course. So we're mostly locals here on this call tonight. I hope that a lot of other people watch this because there's going to be some great info to share. Plus, this is some things that people don't know. The name Minyan Oneg Shabbat, talking about Farbrengen, at Farbrengen, they sang a wonderful round for Yismechu v'malachutacha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, V'korei Oneg Shabbat, right? But that's not the melody they used. They had a wonderful melody for it that was in 3 parts. And I thought to myself, that's great. I want to do just like Kihila Kol HaNeshama does in Jerusalem. I want to have a song that we sing every Shabbat, every time we meet. That's also the name of the community. So if you go to Kol HaNeshama, they sing Kol HaNeshama Tehalel, right? And 3 or 4 parts. And that's the way they end every gathering, whether it's Friday night or Saturday. Well, I realized after I named it Minyan Oneg Shabbat, this round is way too complicated to teach on the fly, that we would have to have a meeting, which we never did. But the name stuck. As a matter of fact, the name became more important to me in later years because I saw a program Renee and I went to at the Holocaust Museum about a group called Oneg Shabbat in the Warsaw Ghetto that basically was a clandestine teaching chevra, that they were making sure that their children were taught and that they were getting together for chavruta study of Torah. And so that felt, this is right. This is absolutely right. So that's the name. And the place we met from 2000 at Chevy Chase Presbyterian Church, from around 2012, 13, up until COVID, right? We met twice a month. One Shabbat of the month, there was a Jewish renewal service. And as I like to say, you've been to one Jewish renewal service, you've been to one Jewish renewal service. And that was one Shabbat of the month. And the other Shabbat of the month was a mindfulness gathering through the lens of Parshat HaShavua. Welcome, Richard and Elizabeth and Carol Ann. And that, I co-led that with a number of people, including Rabbi Gila Langner for a while. Many of you know Gila. Rabbi Alyssa Joy Auster, who we did Leil Tikkun Shavuot with last week. She came and worked with us a number of times. But then we met a woman Renee and I, named Clea Bassing. And Clea is kind of like I describe her as a follower, a chassid, a chassid of Tara Brach's. For those of you who know who Tara is, she is a very, very prominent person in the mindfulness world, right? How many of you have ever been to one of Tara's sits or listened to her? Yeah, a lot of people here. She's located here in the DC area, but also if you're interested in her work, her podcast is wonderful to listen to, both her Dharma talks, which basically are Divrei Torah, and her meditations, which are usually guided. But anyway, Clea worked with Tara. Clea actually was Jewish, but she knew nothing of her Jewish background, knew nothing about a Jewish ritual, etc. But she sure knows how to run a mindfulness gathering. And so together we put together what I thought were just tremendously playful and deep sessions in which we explored our our inner Torah like we do in breakthrough rooms, which was the inspiration. Now Clea was with us at the beginning of COVID, and she came once or twice a month, and then she just didn't have time. She had to cut something out of her schedule, and that's how Judith was born, so to speak. And so Judith took over for Clea, and that too has been evolving as the months and the years now have gone by. As a matter of fact, she won't be with us this Shabbat, but DDK is going to be leading breakthrough rooms this Shabbat. So we went from twice a week to 3 times a month. When we were meeting twice a week, it was a labor of love. It still is a labor of love, but this time the rabbi's being paid parnasa for his services. And for that, I am most grateful to every single one of you who are here with me this evening. Because it's a lot more work, obviously, than I was doing. At the time, over the last 10 years, I had to give up certain things. And the main thing that I gave up was my band, which we used to do between 30 to 50 gigs a year, B'nai Mitzvah parties, a lot of weddings. But it was time. It was time for that transition to happen. And so this was perfect. So from the curse of COVID has arisen our Zoomagog, this blessed community of which you are all an important part of. I was on Facebook before, and I couldn't help but notice a notice from Rabbi David Curiel, and many of you know David. He's also a Aleph ordained rabbi. And David was announcing after, I don't know how many years, I think maybe 5, that the end of his community in Western Mass. I don't know the reasons behind it, but he was basically calling it a day, and that they weren't going to be meeting anymore for services, that they were going to be forming more informal social gatherings that people can invite other people over to their homes, but basically calling it quits. So too did I learn that my friend, Rabbi Elise Seidner Joseph, and many of you know Elise as well, she has a community, or had a community, in Westchester, Pennsylvania. And I learned that she's retiring her, or had retired her community. So about a year ago, last March, I and you, for those of you who were there, we made a brit. We made a covenant in which this actually was begun. It was teased into existence by Marlena, who's not here this evening. But Marlena's question was a very, very real one. Now, Marlena basically lives around the corner from us. But Marlena moved to DC right after COVID. And so she never had an opportunity to be with us at the church. And so she didn't have a community, and she was a member of a wonderful community. I forget where it was, in Connecticut, I believe. But then she found us, and she came, and she loved it. And she wanted to know the following. She wanted to know, before she made a commitment financially and spiritually, whether or not I would be there for her, if and when the time came. Whether, when, she was sick, whether she would get a phone call, or God forbid someone, was gravely ill or died, whether or not I would be there to serve as her Rebbe. And so that got me to thinking that I needed to make a decision about this community and any kind of commitment that I was going to make to you and that you were going to make to me. And if you remember, on that night, I asked you to make a commitment, and you have done that, and in many, many ways. First of all, financially, as I said, we are so close to me earning what a part-time rabbi, and you know what a part-time rabbi is? A part-time rabbi works full-time, and a full-time rabbi works all the time. And so I have found, much to my delight, and much to my calendar's fulfillment, pun intended, that this is a job, right? That I wasn't really looking for, but Hashem had different ideas. And I suppose when I woke up one morning and I said what Reb Zalman Zichrono Livracha, encourages us to do, which is to say, how do you want to deploy me today after saying Modeh Ani? How do you want a Zalman? How do you want a Moshe bear me today? That was the answer. I got plans for you. And so the Brit was made, the covenant that was sealed. And I don't know about you, but can you believe it's been nearly 2.5 years since we are online? I was very fortunate in that the Aleph Rabbinic classes, other Aleph classes as well, were already on Zoom. And so I already knew the ins and outs of working with Zoom, and Renee did as well. And if you remember, I guess I must have sent out an email saying, hey, you want to be on Zoom this Shabbos morning? And a lot of you showed up. And then you kept showing up and you telling other people. We have nearly 100 people now on our contact list. Now, that contact list, there are many people who no longer come, but are still on the list. That's fine. I think that we have at least 50 or 60 people who rotate in and out, right? We have, you're the Hasidim, right? So we have at least maybe 30 of you. We have to be that many because we're getting at a minimum of 40 people, 40 Zoom screens every Shabbos, and sometimes more. And we'll get to why we had more this past Shabbat. You'll remind me if I leave that part out, but it has to do with high holidays. So that's kind of the state of the MOSh Union, Yichud, for those of you who got the Ichud, for those of you who got the Hebrew pun on the email. That was the state of the Ichud address. And so we're in a great place for other reasons too. When I'm telling people all the time that we are virtual but real. We are building a community, and not with brick and mortar, but one relationship at a time, right? I am so indebted to all of you who have taken on these kinds of holy roles. I'm looking around, and I'm going to read through my screen of people who have really given a lot of time. Leanna, Renee, Deborah, Scott, Meira, and let me see who else. I'm Leah Kitt. We're talking the MOSh meetup team. Mary Reed is on that team as well. Elka, Elka behind the scenes. You don't even know that every Friday I send Elka an email with all the donations that came in that week. And she puts them into an online database that's for nonprofits. And this is something that we never had before, that I had to do one thank you note at a time, by sending emails for those who have been around long enough. But now, Elka, thank you. You enter the names, you let me know they're done. And sometime in the next week or two, I go into, it's called Little Green Light. And I write a little note on most of your emails. And then they're all electronically ready to go. And then I hit a button and they all go out at the same time. If I have something special to say, I put it in. If not, you get the email without a note at the bottom. But you can give me a hard time for that if you want a note.
And Carol Ann is part of the MOSh meetup team too.
Who did I leave out? Carol Ann. Yes, I was going across my screen, and then Carol Ann was next. So absolutely. And if I left anybody out for any reason, please. I mean, but everybody here has done something to make an important contribution, whether it's offering a teaching or just your presence here with us. I had made a little list. Deborah, Elka, Renee. I want to also mention Janice Rubin, who's been such an important part of discussions around the retreat, which we're going to get to in a little bit, as well as Shulamit, of course, every week, and Judith Dack too. So many people. DDK with page numbers, and when DDK is not there, Mary steps in. I mean, that's just, isn't it so wonderful how if somebody's not there, everybody picks up the slack. All righty. So that's.
Mark, did you say Meira? Did I miss it? Did you say Meira? Because she pulls us together for the contact list, among other things.
I believe Meira was the very first person who I mentioned. Thank you, Mary Rita. Mary Rita, Meira. Sounds like. So I want to go step by step at a number of things I want to cover. First of all, are you glad that I've come to the end of that part of it? Let me hear it. Okay, great. Well, I'm glad too, because I didn't write any of that out, and I hope I didn't forget anything that I wanted to say. But actually, there is one other thing I want to say, that none of this would exist, and I would not be a rabbi if not for Renee. Because going to the Davening Leadership Training Institute was the very beginning of my journey into Jewish renewal. Edith Herman, one of the malachim in my life, one of the angels in my life, I met her, and she told me that she just returned from this. I didn't even know Dee, but we were doing a 3-night, 4-day retreat at Washington Hospital Center for cancer patients. And it sounded great. I said, I'll check it out. Now we're going to go into that whole story about meeting Reb Marsha and Jack. But that's a good story in and of itself. So I said to Renee during my 3rd week, and I always get it wrong. I don't get her language exactly. If she's actually on the call, she can say what it is. I saw that a lot of people in Davening Leadership Institute were in one of the Aleph ordination programs, and I've had the itch to study, to become a rabbi, because I was accepted to RRC, the Reconstructionist Rabbinical College, in 1991, but didn't end up going. And I got the itch again, and I looked at Renee and I said, "What do you think about me like doing this program?" And I mean, I've always wanted to do the studying, but I won't get smicha. I won't become a rabbi till I'm almost 60. And Renee said,
"You'll be 60 anyway. You might as well be a rabbi."
Right. When I tell her, I say, you're going to be 60 anyway, so you might as well. And also, I think you might have said too, and what are you going to be 60 and then look back and say, why didn't I, look into it? So I did. And many of you know that I've been serving as a chazan since 1987 in different settings, conservative, reform, and Reconstructionist. And we'll get to high holidays right now. That was a good segue. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all of you who answered the poll, the survey that I sent out a couple of weeks ago. Remember last year? Well, let's trace back a little bit. Since 1987, I've served both locally and around the country. I was for, I think, 9 years at Addis Israel here in DC as chazan, and then later rabbi for a year, Rabbi Chazan for high holidays. Also at Kol Shalom which is now in Bethesda, for I think the same amount of time. But I've also served congregations in Fort Collins, Colorado. Last year we were in Westchester County. Many of you joined us. Without going through all the ones that I've served, Last year or 2 years ago, we were online because that was during the heat, right, of COVID, and nobody was going anywhere, and everybody was doing hybrid, or not hybrid, doing online alone. So last year, I felt that if I could find a position, it would make up for salary, and B, if it was a hybrid service, you all could come if you wanted to as well. And many of you in the survey said that worked for you. There were a couple of you who said that you would love there to be an in-person MOSh High Holiday service with a hybrid component. That would be beautiful, but that's not happening for a variety of reasons, that'd be way too much work, and the technical part of it would be impossible as well. So I am looking for a position. Right now I'm talking to 2 different congregations, but I'm only going to accept a position if it's similar to last year, meaning that it's a hybrid service in which you are welcome to come. Otherwise, we're going to be right here. And so I want to share with you the numbers that from the survey. There were 45 responses. There were very few people. A couple of people wrote me saying, "Where's the survey?" and that had already expired. But that's okay. Here's who you are, and here's what you told me. 28 of the 45 belong to another community. For example, Kit, you're a member of Adat Shalom, and Mary Rita and Dan, members of Osa Shalom. 28 belong to another community. 16 of you said you would attend. This is a general question. 18 said yes, but not all. So that adds up to 34 people. 7 were not sure, and 4 said no, but I'll be with you in spirit. 28 of you said you'd come for slichot. Beautiful. You can calendar that. We'll do we will do a slichot together, unless I get a better offer. Okay. It's just to make you laugh, Scott. 24 of you said you'd come to Erev Rosh Hashanah. Last year, Laura Mendelis did Erev Rosh Hashanah. I think it's possible that if we did Erev Rosh Hashanah, I might do it like I did a couple of years ago when it was COVID only. We didn't do Erev Rosh Hashanah. I mean, when it was online only. I did Erev Rosh Hashanah from my porch and invited people to come sit in my yard. And that might be kind of fun again. And any of you who wanted to come in person, who were local, obviously. All right, 24 Erev Rosh Hashanah. 32 of you said you'd come for Rosh Hashanah daytime. Dayenu, right? That said to me, this is going to happen because I wasn't sure at all whether or not, it's a lot of work putting together services for any time, but especially for Yamim Noraim, for Rosh Hashanah. But when I saw that number 32, I knew that it was going to happen in some shape or form. A half of you said you'd come to Rosh Hashanah second day. So we'd probably do a second day, but we'd probably do something different on the second day. It wouldn't be a quote unquote service, but maybe a mindfulness gathering, an extended breakthrough room kind of thing. Or I don't even remember what we did 2 years ago, but it'll be something that is meaningful, creative, and joyous. What happened to my other? That's hiding. Okay. 25 of you said you'd call Nidre. Awesome. 32 to Yom Kippur Day and 19 to Ne'ilah. Right. So these are kind of like what I'm looking at as minimum numbers, because if we do a little advertising, a little outreach, maybe we would get more. 25 out of the 45 attended last year's hybrid service. 30 of you said hybrid would meet your needs. That gives me the go-ahead to look for another position that is a hybrid situation. 16 said hybrid okay, but prefer MOSh only. I hear you. I hear you. So one synagogue I'm talking to is not doing second day Rosh Hashanah. So maybe second day would be a MOSh only gathering. And 5 of you said definitely not. No hybrid for you. And then a couple of comments that you made. I mentioned before asking whether there were going to be a possibility of in-person option for locals or in-person, local, and hybrid, maybe for Erev. And then one of you, quoting the book of Ruth, said, "Wherever you go, I will go." And you know who you are. That was wonderful to read. So thank you so much for filling out the survey. I do want to say before I go on that I wasn't envisioning this as a discussion or a town meeting, but rather as a presentation. That said, if you have an idea, a comment, or a reflection, please put it in the chat and I will read the chat afterwards. If you want it for my eyes only, just put it for my eyes only. Just make it a private message, okay? But if it's okay to go to everybody, please feel free to put, and there could be a question in there too. All righty. If there's a burning question, if I'm leaving something out, that I want to know. All righty. It's wonderful. There's 26 screens. Isn't that great? All right, let's continue. In no particular order, I think that most of you are on the contact list, if not all of you. But I do wanted to alert you in case you go to the contact list to find somebody's name or number, email address, etc., that there is a warning sign that Google put on there saying that here's what it says: this file looks suspicious. It may be used to install harmful software on your device. It also said at one time that it might be used for spam. Okay, I sent it to Google for their inspection. I don't know why that is so. There's no one but us has access to that contact list. The only way to get access to it is to be on our mailing list and to click on that. And since so few people click on it anyway, we're all safe. That was a bad joke, or okay, so I just wanted you to know what that is. All righty. Can I get a drum roll? Thank you very much. And thank you for all giving me the drum roll. Let's talk about 2 retreats that we have coming up. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is happening. They are happening. First, we are going to be having a local Shabbaton, October 21st and 22nd. Friday night and Saturday. We're not sure where it's going to be yet. We have the church if we want it. Of course, COVID able, right? So we're holding the church. We're hoping to find some place that we can meet outdoors if the weather permitting. This is not only a local gathering if you want to come. The difference between that retreat and the other retreat, thank you, Bina, that we're going to be telling you about in a minute, is that there will be no lodging. It will not be an overnight retreat, all right? That we have a place to ourselves. But if you're coming from out of town, we might be able to find you places to stay, certainly. Or you can always, find hotels within the distance from where things are going to happen. Okay, so save the date, and there is more to come about this. The only other person who might say, Dan, question or comment?
The question. So as a retreat then, and not overnight, the idea would be...
I'm not calling it a retreat. I'm calling it a Shabbaton.
Shabbaton. So then it would be Friday night Shabbat dinner and services,
Exactly.
and then we go home. And
Right.
then we come back for Shabbat services, lunch and afternoon program,
Right.
and maybe whatever till Havdalah.
Dan, that's exactly what I have written down. It's there's a question mark, teaching in the afternoon or whatever that's going to be until question mark. Maybe Havdalah will be someplace else. It's all up in the air right now. And if you are someone who would like to be volunteering for that, please put that in the chat as well. We're in early stages. We don't know what we're going to need, and we don't even have a coordinator yet. And that would be a machaya to have that person as well, because it's not going to be me. All righty. Next. Now I really need a big drum roll. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Liana.
Well, we are going to do the retreat reveal tonight. And before I get started, I want to really thank the retreat team for all their hard work and effort. And on our retreat team, it's been Janice, Judith, DDK, Mark, Renee, and me. So thank you all. I'm going to share my screen now. Okay. So hear ye, calling all Moshniks, announcing the Minyan Oneg Shabbat retreat. So your questions may be primarily at this point, when and where? Well, when, we were very fortunate to be able to secure a place for our retreat next spring, April 27th, 2003 to April 30th, 2023. Now, you may think, that sounds like a 3-night retreat. I'm not sure I can get away on Thursday. Well, we're offering the option of a 2 or 3-night retreat. The first part, the 3-night retreat, begins at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Thursday. And for both, it ends at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. Now, these won't be 2 separate retreats. It will just be that the 3-night retreat will start 1 day early. So now the next question, where's the retreat going to be? Well, we were able to secure the Claggett Retreat Center in Adamstown, Maryland. Let me tell you something about the Claggett Retreat Center. It's situated on 268 acres, and all these acres have fabulous views of Sugarloaf Mountain and Monocacy River Valley. One of the wonderful things about this center is it's only an hour away from 3 international airports, 62 miles from BWI, 47 from Reagan International, and 40 from Dulles. And really good news, we can get an airport shuttle from these airports to our destination. So let me tell you about the lodging. We've reserved the Christiane Inn. Now this inn has hotel-style rooms. Each room has an adjoining bath, and there are queen-size beds in both the double and single rooms. Not your grandmother's retreat center. Sugarloaf Dining Hall is a beautiful place. Renee's been there many times, and she tells us that the dining hall is surrounded by windows that have gorgeous views out over Sugarloaf Mountain. We have arranged to have vegetarian meals served daily, 3 meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you don't want to eat inside, there is a patio where you can eat adjacent to the dining room. And this is especially important for people who may be immunocompromised and still afraid of COVID. God willing, we'll be finished with COVID by then, but who knows? And it's also the perfect spot for small group discussions or just relaxing and talking or watching the sunrise. Monocacy Room is going to be our meeting room. And we were very fortunate to get this. It's a lovely room. And Rev Mark was thrilled to hear that it has a baby grand piano. It also has several breakthrough areas, 2 rooms, Potomac and Sugarloaf rooms with private balconies and views of the mountain. And it also has corner nooks with gas fireplaces and wraparound porch, complete with rocking chairs.
That's for us.
There's many indoor sacred spaces, but there's also outdoor sacred spaces, such as the Labyrinth, which is right behind Monocacy Hall, and it overlooks Sugarloaf Mountain. There's also an outdoor altar. It has a stone deck, and the altar sits in a beautiful area, beautiful surroundings, where we can have services. And if you find yourself and God in nature, there's plenty of hiking trails and walking trails. There's paved paths, or you could hike through fields of Sugarloaf Mountain. There were a variety of new trails installed in 2020. And the picture there is of a trail on Sugarloaf Mountain. So I'm sure you're saying to yourself, well, you know, what is this going to cost? And money matters. Well, we are offering the option of a 2-night or a 3-night retreat. So as Judith said a few months ago, we estimate that the retreat would cost for accommodations, meals, and programming about $200 a night. Therefore, a 2-night retreat would run you about $400 and a 3-night around $600. When we did the preliminary finances for the retreat, it did turn out to be just about what Judith estimated. But there's other money matters. You know, MOSh needs donors. And we need some help in identifying possible donors. So we would like you to let us know your ideas.
And if I can jump in here for a moment, Eliana, which is to say that we know that there are some among us who would find the cost prohibitive, and we would like everybody to be able to come if they can. So we're going to have a scholarship fund that if you'd like to donate to that, awesome. It would be even better if we can identify people who would like to support MOSh, and especially this endeavor. There are people that have like charitable giving funds who, if they were asked, they might, give us, $1,000 or a couple of $1,000 towards this. It can't go towards salary, administrative work if you write a grant, but it can go towards this kind of endeavor, which is a community building program. So if anybody knows anyone like that, please let us know. Or if you happen to be one of those people and are interested in basically underwriting the program, MOSh is going out on a little limb, not as big a limb as it would have been with Pearlstone, those of you who are familiar with Pearlstone Retreat Center, but a little limb in expecting a minimum number of people so that we break even. And if we made a little money on it, or there are going to be lots of other expenses besides the food and lodging. So anyway, that's enough said about that. But if you have any ideas, please let us know about that, and we'd be grateful. Eliana, back to you.
So please save the dates. Get out your calendar, your daily planner, and circle April 27th, 2023 and April 30th, 2023, and hold the dates for our Minyan Oneg Shabbat retreat.
I'm assuming that that's not Pesach.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Are there any burning questions now? And we've heard one about Pesach.
Go ahead,
Is
Dina.
there a budget yet? I mean, you're asking for a supporter for that event. Is there a number yet? Anybody have any numbers yet?
We do not have numbers yet. Our first, if you want to be on a finance committee to discuss that, that'd be great. Because we've just been too really busy trying to find an affordable place that works for us. And you're probably not surprised to find out that we were really late in the game in trying to we were trying to make a retreat happen this fall for everybody, but there was nothing that we could find that was suitable for us. So no, we don't know yet, Bina, but thank you for raising that question. That's the next step, or one of the next steps. There was one or two other questions about the retreat, Dan.
Sorry, just a clarification. The prices that you put up there were for an individual or for a room?
No, individual.
Okay, so for a couple in one room, it would be double that.
Yeah, we can't tell you that yet, but the answer is yes for now.
Okay.
Right. All that specific information. I'll tell you that one of the next things that's going to happen is there's going to be a page on our website with registration information, which will have everything you never wanted to know and everything you did want to know as well. Okay. By the way, we were looking at retreat centers in Fairbanks, Alaska, but that idea was shot down. I don't know why. Eliana, are we good? Or do you have anything else?
Are there any other questions?
Okay, questions can be put into the chat as well, and we can get back to you with any answers. But if there are none other right now, we'll move on. Thank you, Eliana. Okay, clearly I need some different applause here. All right, the retreat. Okay. In the next email, let me back up for a second. Maybe known to you or unbeknownst to you, over the past, especially year and a half, there has been a flood of retirements of rabbis, many of whom have just gotten burned out. Right. Speaking for myself, I'm tired. I think I've only taken 2 Shabbatot off since March of 2020. I don't regret one moment of it, but I need to do some self-care. Part of that, where you come in, is to be in touch with me if you have ideas for other ways to be together on Shabbos morning. Now, there are some of you here who are perfectly capable of leading a Shabbat morning service, co-leading a Shabbat morning service, right? That we all would be happy and proud of, okay? But I need you to step forward. And if there are any other ideas, please know that I Rabbi Jeff Roth is a dear friend of mine, and he is totally willing to come and to lead as he did that one time. So now that I said that, and I'm not going anywhere, I'm not retiring yet. Now that I said I'm tired and need a break, I want to point to the fact that I'm now adding to my responsibilities, and this is how. And the next email you receive is going to be a link. It's going to be a link to set up a time to chat with me. All right. If you want to do that, the link will take you to what's called, many of you might have had experience, Calendly. All right. So this an automatically signs you up for a session, 45-minute session, and then you're on the calendar. Okay. And it's going to be on Thursdays, only Thursdays. All right. So keep an eye out for that. You can get in touch with me for pastoral reasons and, and other reasons as well anytime. But this is just a little bit more structure to my life in knowing what days I might be doing this with you. Okay. What times. All righty. Also using Calendly, you're able to reschedule dates that you've made as well, which is very, very handy. Renee and I are going to Colorado. We were going to go to Kala, but Kala is not happening. But we're going anyway because we have dear friends there. Judith is there. And Janice is going to hopefully be joining us at Judith's house for Shabbat from the mountains. MOSh in the mountains. I got the name for it. On, I think it's July what are the dates? July 9th and 16th. On one of the Shabbatot will be at Judith's, and the other Shabbatot will be at my brother-in-law's house, which is even further up in the mountains. So I'm not taking the days off because they wouldn't let me. Because Judith said, and Janice said, I'm going to be here. We can collate. I said, oh, that's too much fun. It'll be like Asheville, which was also MOSh in the mountains. So that'll be a labor of love, of course. But I just wanted to alert you to that and ask you, I'm just throwing this out. I haven't decided definitely yet, but know that if we're doing that, it'll be 8 a.m. our time there. That might be a little bit early for me, although I'll be on Mountain Time already. But I'm thinking of rescheduling both those Shabbatot to start at 10:30 and at 12:15 Eastern Standard Time, same time, but just abbreviate things a little bit. If you have any thoughts about that, put it in the chat and I'll see that too, okay? It's not a bad way for me to circumnavigate my way around that early wake-up call. Last but not least, where are we going? Our friend Shoshana Levy asked me a number of months ago, and then someone who came to MOSh for the first time this past Shabbat, who we went for a walk with this past week, who no longer has a spiritual community, asked me what my vision was. And I'm always stumped by the question because my vision is always on next Shabbos, right? And, for Ezrat Hashem, with God's help, getting there and being together. So the questions that come up once in a while is, like, where do we want to go? Is this sustainable? What's going to happen? In the uncertainty, what can we continue to build on? What is the continuing brit, the continuing covenant between you and me? What do you expect? Do you expect me to be here every Shabbos? Well, when I say every Shabbos, I mean that for MOSh to continue online. And I know, given that many of you belong to other communities, and you're going to go there sometimes, which is why we need a larger base of people coming to things, right? because with a larger base, then we're assured of at least X amount of people. And I'm happy at the number 40, 36 is a good number too, but I like being in the 40s. 42 is a good number as well. So we need to grow our base, and anything that you can do. And some of you have been doing that. You're telling Carol Ann before the earlier today, somebody wrote to say they were a friend of yours, that he wanted to be on the email list, right? And I said, any friend of Carol Ann's a friend of mine. Right? All righty. So what's the vision? Well, let me share a couple of things with you that I really want to see happen. First of all, and my apologies to those of you who are not local, I want to make sure that we have more local get-togethers, and by that can happen in a number of ways. An occasional Kabbalat Shabbat. Now, where that's going to happen, if we're still uncomfortable having a lot of people in our house, right? We used to have Kabbalat Shabbat and a potluck dinner at our house. God willing, it'll happen again soon. But other things like having some of you like inviting other MOShiks for Shabbos dinner, that grows community too. Or I know, as Amy has tried to do on occasion, get some people for a Shabbos walk in Rock Creek Park. Okay. Wednesday nights will continue happening. I want to be teaching less of them than I have, because I do teach the bulk of them. So if any of you have something that you would like to teach, Hoff gave an amazing teaching the other day. Eliana followed that up. It was wonderful, right? And I have a lot of other people in mind to invite in to teach. Richard, also, sorry, I left you out. Richard, you got that whole ball rolling with your wonderful teaching on storytelling. So, there's so many different subjects, and now we have our meetups once a month, but not in July, and taking MOSh meetups off. Deborah's idea for a MOSh Eat Up, that was my idea. Sorry, I have to get myself pat on the back because I
named it.
I did name it, but that's wonderful too. I think we had like 25 people stayed on after services on Shabbat, and it was wonderful. And Deborah, you were concerned about everybody talking at once, or somebody was, but it was really nice. It was just really laid back, and people talked. And amazingly, I don't think there was a moment when anybody talked over anybody else. So things like that. What are ways in which we continue to grow this community through Torah and through our, and our relationships, or the Torah of relationships? Okay. Haiti, I know I've got my mind on inviting you to teach, to teach one night. Okay, you and Yumi. All right, so that's another way. But if you have other ideas of ways to grow this community, I would love there to be at least one local retreat, local Shabbaton a year, to make it a tradition. For there to be our national gathering every year. I apologize. I really want it to be in driving distance of me, because that keeps costs down for so many of us. The bulk of us live in the Washington area. I'm not interested in doing hybrid services. Not going to happen. The technological challenges are too great, and it's I like this more than a hybrid service. Renee often says that she actually likes this in a lot of ways more than being in shul. This way we're facing each other. All right, we can't sing together, but hey, sometimes I can sing with myself. We are opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous light of the Holy One. So, I'll have to put more things like that together. If you're local, Scott and Judy Rakusin have already come to sit by my side. That was so awesome for me to have company for you two, Scott. It was, and then they stayed for lunch. So if you're local, and you have to sing, you have to sing with me, and you're invited. So invite yourself, okay? Or if you're coming from out of town, invite yourself, and you can come for Shabbos dinner too if you want. Speaking of get-togethers, Please remember, locals, that this Saturday 4:30 to 6:30, we still have 1 or 2 spots left open at Judy Rakusin's, and the following Saturday night, what's late afternoon, will be at Carol Ann's. And as an extra added attraction, DDK is going to be here that weekend staying with me. So Dee Dee will be at your house, Carol Ann. If you've been to one already, there's plenty of room at Carol Ann's as we speak. You can come to that one too, but let it be known that you want to come to another one. I know I said choose one, so now I'm taking that back. You could be on the waiting list, and I'll let you know, as we get closer, whether you can come or not. Phew, and I'm not sure I took a breath during all of that, and that's the most important thing to do, isn't it? Let me look down my notes. I think that's all I had. Yeah. Oh, there's one other thing. Again, thank you everybody for your generous donations. For those of you who are on a monthly PayPal, automatic payment, if you're giving more than $50 a month, you might want to consider shifting over to the PayPal Giving Fund. When you give through PayPal, you might be aware they take a little bit of their percentage out. It's not that much out of each one, but to date, they have taken $191.82 for themselves. So times 2, we're going to be close to $500 by the end of the year, and that's real money. Alrighty. The downside of the PayPal Giving Fund is that you have to remember every month. You have to put it on your calendar to I don't know why it's a disincentive to do it. I know I don't know why they don't offer that, but give that some thought. If you're giving through PayPal, it'll save us a couple of more shekels will go to us. There's no downside for us. There's only the upside. Alrighty. It's 8:35. We're going to end, of course, with a song. I do want to make sure if there are any questions or reflections that any of you have about anything that I've mentioned, please, let's just take 5 minutes to do that. Carol Ann, you have to unmute yourself.
Sorry, I was so good about being muted the whole time. Are there any possibilities that either of congregations that you're looking at to possibly do the high holiday services for local or near local?
No.
Okay.
Not at this time.
Yeah.
Not at this time. If you hear of anybody that needs somebody, let me know. Let me know. But again, this is a little tricky because it's going to have to be a service that you all be interested in, which is why, as much as I would love to serve a conservative congregation and serve them as in a traditional chazanut, I don't think that most of you might, you all are interested in that. And it's just not a very, it's not the kind of service that I want to offer you, right? There ain't going to be any breakthrough rooms. and that's all I'm going to say about that. Was there anybody else who had something? Eliana.
Yes, I was wondering, for the Shabbaton in October, 21st through 22nd, and we're planning on coming, and we're getting reservations. What location are you in so that we can fly into the right place and then find a hotel?
Okay, so I'll answer that.
It's a moving target.
That's a moving target, Renee says. It's true because we don't have a place yet. We live in DC in Upper Northwest. We have the church, which is very close to us. And there are several hotels that aren't far from us. One within walking distance, actually. However, that said, we're trying to get information about one place, Rockwood Manor, and some of you might be familiar with it, that has, Roxanne, do you know it? Were you shaking your head? Yes? Yeah, that has actually overnight accommodations. But it would only be for one night. we'll keep you posted. We don't know yet. You're probably going to want to have a car in any case. Well, maybe not. So just stay tuned. But all you need to get to is to get to DC, and we'll take it from take it from there. Renee, you going to say something?
My sound is weird. Is it okay for you?
You sound fine.
Okay. If Eliana and anyone else are coming for the in-town retreat or Shabbaton, the airport that we call National and which is officially called Reagan is going to be the closest, but probably more expensive than the other two, which are probably both about equidistant from wherever we'll be.
Yeah. National Airport or Reagan National is the closest airport to us because it's right outside of DC. I want to say something else about that, but now I don't remember.
Mark, this is Kit. I keep getting thrown off because my internet keeps going down. So will this meeting, what has been talked about, will it be kind of summarized or sent in the email for those who weren't here?
Eventually, all of this information will be disseminated. Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah, Renee, you're muted.
And it's been recorded if you want to watch it again.
Right. Yes, this session is being recorded. Anybody else? Go ahead, Mayra.
There's just a piece of the history that I think deserves mentioning, and that is we were meeting twice a month, and when the pandemic started, Mark, you said, we're going to meet weekly to help each other through this. And we all thought it was going to be 2 months, and we kept on meeting weekly. And many of us were utterly astonished because never in our lives had we gone to shul every Shabbat. So this was an experience.
That makes 3 of us. Thanks for reminding me that. That's great. Anybody else? Oh, I do want to thank Hoff. Because Renee and I went to Hoff's house in Virginia the other day because there was a possibility that it would work as a meeting place for us. But for a variety of reasons, it's not going to work. But we were so excited, and we got to eat Hoff's famous pesto. So thank you, Hoff, for that. Anybody else? We're going to come in for a landing here. Great. So this is all to be continued. I thank you all for being on this journey with me, and let's be companions as we continue this most excellent adventure. It really, really is a blessing. Thank you so much. So I'm wondering, should we close with Deborah Lesk? You get to decide. Should we close with the MOSh theme song again? Or something that I started with. Deborah, you get to vote. Oh, before I say that, I just want to lift up how important you are to me and this entire community. That you all have no idea, besides, the fact that, she's serving as, breakthrough room Gabbai, I don't know. But she arrives early and she stays late. I've had to double her salary since we began. But also just little things like every email that goes out, I send to Deborah, and you look it over and you write back to me and say, everything works, or there's a misspelling here, or didn't you mean to change this or that? So you are an invaluable cog in this wonderful, wonderful community. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All righty. So in your honor, only because I know how much you love it. Okay, I gotta share the screen. I've been to Romemu. I've been to BJ. I've searched all over for a place to pray. I found the mosh pit and knew that this was it. I am a moshnik and I'm here to stay. And I'm turning gray. I found community that is in tune with me, singing and dancing in our Zumagog. Some contemplation mixed with elation. I am a moshnik and I'm here to stay. And I'm turning gray. Hoffa's got it down. A chance to meet you, a chance to greet you, a time to deepen what it means to belong. Let's have some fun tonight and spread some joy and light. I am a moshnik and I'm here to stay. And I'm turning gray. Here comes the harmonica part. I am a moshnik and I'm here to stay. Go on, do the Neil Young thing with it. I am a moshnik and I'm here to stay. I am a moshnik and I'm here to stay. I am a moshnik and I'm here to stay. Good night, everybody.
By her own party, the party her father was loyal to for decades, for refusing